and welcome to another episode of Pop and Scott Talk Baseball. We lost a great one of the game this week. Ironically, while they're kind of celebrating him and others at playing a special game this week, was it Rockwood, right?
Yeah, it's Rockwood Park in Birmingham, Alabama.
Right, where the Barons played. And that field is huge, man. I couldn't imagine before 1913, like it was like 470 feet or something in center field. Just historical weekend, really made you think. You got to watch him play. I get to see, highlights of him. They always want to show the one catch, but he's bigger than that. One of the best center fielders ever, if not the best center fielder ever.
He's probably the best. He is probably, and I do. You know me, I don't like to match up the eras. I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't like to do that. But probably as a 5-tool player, I would say that he's probably the best player that ever played. And I mean, I'm not exaggerating, because he had a fantastic arm. He could run. He could field his position, and I've got several stats on him.
Right.
And he was just a phenomenal player. The other 5-tool player that I was like was Clemente, but he didn't play as long as Mays, and he didn't accomplish as much as Mays.
Yeah.
But Mays might just be the best all-around ball player that ever played the game if you had to pick one. Now, there are some of those that still think that Ruth was the best player ever, but Ruth couldn't run like Mays.
No, and I'm sorry, Mays still played in an era that was still socially, he was not, covered like Mantle or some of the other players. The civil rights movement, he played before the civil rights movement, played during the civil rights movement. But they were still, segregation laws and things like that. Now, he did play in bigger cities, so it probably didn't affect as much earlier than in other places like Birmingham. But, we have to remember that. We have to take in the time and the era that one played in. And, they said he didn't like, how can it work? He wasn't maybe the most social person, but you have to remember what he had to go through as he coming up. The
other thing, son, about Willie Mays is he was a real quiet guy.
Right.
He was quiet, and he wasn't reserved, but he was quiet. And once he got to know his teammates and everything, he was much more. You have to remember, he broke in playing 17 years old in Birmingham, playing on a black team. So now when he's 19 or 20, he's with an all-white team.
Right.
Well, the Giants did also in the early 50s take Monty Irvin out of the Negro League. But the other thing is Mays accomplished everything he accomplished, and he also got drafted and spent 2 years in the Army during the Korean War.
Right.
And then he came back and hit the ground running, and was a part of the 1954 the World Series champions from New York, the Giants. And then the other thing is too, he had the opportunity to play in New York. So I always call it the golden era of baseball, because at that time they had a little song, and part of the song went, Willie, Mickey, and the Duke, because they were the three center fielders in New York. Duke Snyder with the Dodgers, Willie Mays with the Giants, and Mickey Mantle with the Yankees.
That is the golden era of baseball. There's no doubt about it. It just was the players were legendary, were heroic, larger than life. And a lot of that has to do is you had to use your imagination, because you had to listen to the games on the radio instead of watching them like we get to do. We are very spoiled. We are lucky enough to watch the games on, and I get to bitch about which ones I don't get to see. But, I have to check myself and go like, man, even when I was a little kid, I didn't get a teenager, a young adult. I saw a handful of games a year because they just weren't on TV. If I wanted to watch them, we had to go to the ballpark and watch them. So, it's different era, getting the paper and looking at the stats and
getting the ball cards.
Ball cards. Yeah. I mean, that's, if you watch my channel, that's what I'm about. And, I'm lucky to have a couple of cards that you've left me. And I have a couple of cards that I picked up for myself to, commemorate such a hero. I have a biography I picked up of him. And, I just feel like he's also so great, but he's also kind of slips through the cracks a little bit of the history of baseball. They talk about him once a year, and that's the catch.
Yeah, and that catch, he used to tell people, I had it all the way. I mean, he said that was not my best catch, but he said I had it all the way. What made that play so phenomenal was that my mind, I guess, I always thought that he wheeled around, threw the ball back to the infield to double Larry Doby off second base. But the other day on MLB, they said that he knew Larry Doby was going to tag up at second base and try to score from second base because it was 445 feet to center field in the Polo Grounds.
Right.
So he was and Doby was fast. He was the center fielder for the Indians. So he was going to try to score from second base, and that's why Mays turned around and fired the ball and took one hop to the second baseman.
Larry Doby was the first black player in the American League.
In the American League, that's correct. He Jackie Robinson in 1947 with the Dodgers, and Larry Doby in 1948 with the Indians. And then Mays started with the Giants in 49 or 50, and then he got drafted, spent 2 years in the Army, and then came back and played, resumed his career. And he's the only player in the history of the game to have 50 home runs. He had 51 in 1955, and he had 20 triples in 1957. He's the only player to have that. Only one. Get 12 years, from 1954 to 1966, he had at least 70 extra base hits every year. Right. The only player to do that. Now you're talking about 12 years. He's the only player to do that.
And that means like even the hottest days in the midsummer where players kind of take days off even when they're playing. That means he's digging out of the box every ball in play.
And they're playing the wool, the suit.
And the afternoon games, mostly.
Oh, of course, yeah. He was 18 times on the All-Star team. In 15 of those 18 games, he got a hit. Nobody's close to that. He had 23 hits in All-Star games in all. He had 12 gold gloves, the most by any center fielder ever. He and Trout are the only players with multi-seasons with a 320 batting average, 25 home runs, and 30 stolen bases.
Right.
They're the only two. He's the only player to have 3,000 hits, a 300 batting average, 300 home runs, and 300 stolen bases. I stand by my argument. He's probably the best all-around baseball player that ever lived.
Right.
At this point. Now, there might be somebody coming up, that.
Right. And I mean, and that's in a different era. You have to put the asterisk there. You have to say it. Because I feel like now we're seeing some special play now. I feel like these players coming up are just a different breed. The game is much different. Everybody throws 100. Everybody pitches move. Not every, you're everybody wants to go, yeah, but there was Josh Gibson. Well, every team has 5 Josh Gibsons now. I just, it's just phenomenal. This has been the question of the week buzzing around the interwebs. So with Willie Mays passing, who's the greatest living player at the moment? Still living.
Well, I hadn't even thought of that. That hadn't even crossed my mind.
And it was when I first heard, I still don't know. I'm sitting there going, are they still alive? Is they still alive? So because Koufax is still alive, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, but see now I separate pitchers from positions.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Tom Seaver. Well,
right
he's
now,
passed.
now, yeah, Koufax.
Right, Nolan. Right, but I'm saying pitchers. The greatest hitter I've ever seen is Miguel Cabrera,
and he's still alive.
And he's still alive. I mean,
and now he didn't hit his career, but I mean, I'm telling you, you could throw
Griffey.
Ken Griffey Jr.
I heard one yesterday, which really was great. Ricky Henderson.
Okay.
Greatest leadoff hitter ever.
Yeah, that's he could have a good.
Could you imagine him playing in today's games? How many he would have 4,000 steals.
I'm telling you right now.
In one season.
I just said the man's name. Trout. Trout is one of the best players I've ever seen play. Now he's been injured so much the last few years.
Yeah.
It takes away from it. But I just read it where he's the only one besides Mays to have those multiple seasons with a 320 batting average, 25 home runs, and 30 stolen bases. That's not bad. That's not bad now. But when you're talking about, I mean, Albert Pujols was a heck of a player for a long time.
Yeah,
before
his feet wouldn't have gone bad. I would have said him before Miguel Cabrera. But, I mean, Miguel Cabrera, 2 Triple Crowns? And, I mean,
that is so hard because
and did it on teams that won't the greatest teams. I think one of those teams went to the playoffs when they had Ordonez and some of those other guys on that team. But he because I get mad that Miguel Cabrera doesn't come up more when people are talking about greats. I know he wasn't the greatest in the field, but he played third well and he played first really well. He had good feet for a big guy.
See, people remember the end of the career. They don't remember, they remember the last thing they saw.
Yeah, we still got Cal Ripken. Pete Rose.
You have Cal Ripken. Yeah, you have Pete Rose. You have a lot of these young players right now.
I'll throw a name out there to find in the Hall of Fame, and that's Donnie Baseball.
I'm going to throw another name out there. We're going to talk about the greatest player of all time, right now alive. Aaron Judge.
If he can stay healthy.
I
don't think he's got enough seasons yet to throw him into that category.
Well, see that, but we're talking about
playing right now. Right.
We got to wait and see how he'll. Well, but this guy, he got hurt last year. And he still hit 45 home runs.
Right. He carried his team 2 years ago to the playoffs
by himself. And set the record for home runs. And this,
I can say that about Harper as well with the Phillies. Harper with the Phillies grew up. He's grown up with the Phillies.
And there's one other name I'm going to throw out there. And here again, we got to wait and see how the career goes. But talk about a great player right now. When he starts pitching again, Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah,
he comes out here. If he starts pitching next year, and he. Did
you see the ball he hit against the Angels? 455 feet.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Dave Roberts, the guy doing the in the dugout. They had a camera with the guy that was doing the dugout reporting because it was the Fox game. Dave Roberts turned around, looked at the camera, and just went, "Oh my god!"
Yeah,
the coach. It's like he hit that. That was a no doubter. I think he was at home before it landed. I meant the home he lives in, not home he played.
That's last night, the Washington, my Nationals set a record last night, ladies and gentlemen. They're the first baseball team to lose a game to the pitch clock.
Well, they said it was going to be a matter of time, just who would win. It was going to happen.
They were winning the game going into the bottom of the ninth. So they bring they're in Colorado. They're winning the game. They bring in their closer, on again, off again, Finnegan. One game, Jim Palmer. The next game, Betsy Palmer. He comes in there. They wind up with the bases loaded, 2 outs, 3-2 on this guy. The umpire jumps out behind the plate. Take your base, and the run came. Never threw a pitch. The pitch clock. They lost the game on the pitch clock. The first time it's happened in the 2 years.
So in the high altitude, does the pitch clock go faster, or?
No, the Washington National brain goes slower. That's the problem.
I'm sorry, that manager, they might like him there because he's young and fiery. I don't like him. I don't think he's.
The manager didn't throw the pitch.
I know he didn't, but still, you
guys, it's my teams do this. If you're watching this show and you like a team and then you find out I'm for that team, pray I change teams because you're in trouble.
Well, you can. I think it's my first grade picture. I'm wearing a Washington Redskins jersey, and that Christmas I'm wearing Dallas Cowboys stuff.
Yeah, because you.
I wised up early.
Well, what it was when we went over to your grandmother's house after church on Sunday to eat, and the Redskins came on every time at 1:00, and you'd sit there with Uncle Eddie watching the game with me, and me and Uncle Eddie are screaming at them because they're doing stupid stuff. You got tired of hearing about how bad they were because we kept criticizing them. So then you changed to be a Dallas fan. But
Ed Tuttle and Randy White.
Yeah, and then you had those different. Well, I mean, you had Roger Staubach come along, and then you had a lot of great players you could really look up to, and we had Kilmer. But anyway, the only quarterback to ever throw a basketball end over end. When they lose that game, and you're going, if this would have been any other team. But maybe it's better that it's my team, I mean, then other people don't have to suffer. But I mean, it's just.
Well, there's a lot of people that still love the Nationals. But they're going to be good again. And when they're
only 2 or 3 games below 500 now. They've been really playing well lately. But
my team's really playing well right now.
Yeah, the Mets are only a game and a half out of the wild card.
Yeah, Grimace came with Francisco Alvarez and. They're tonight's game on ESPN.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Then they play the Yankees Wednesday and Thursday and Friday or something. Yeah. But anyway, or Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday or something. But anyway, Mookie Betts is out with a broken hand.
Yeah, I saw. That's terrible.
That was not good. And now they've got Shohei batting leadoff. The other injury of note, Rizzo of the Yankees has an arm fracture. He's out 4 to 6 weeks, but he was having a bad year.
Yeah. That was almost like, okay. I mean, it's terrible that it happened, but for the fans, they're like, okay, it don't matter who we got there.
I don't know if they're coming, if they're going to be out any length of time, but for the Padres, Profar went out. Something wrong with his leg the other night, and Tatis went out. He got hit by a pitch. I got to give your stepmother some props. I was talking about. I was watching baseball. We were watching a baseball game in there, and she has her iPad. She's a woman. She can do more than one thing at a time. I'm a man. I can't. So I'm watching the game, and I went ooh because pitch came high inside. Well, she looked up and saw the replay, and I said, and then the commentator made the comment that there was more hit batters this year. For this part of the year, there's just been more hit batters, and I'm sitting there and I said, yes, sir, because everybody's throwing 95 to up, so you can't get out of the way. And you know what your stepmom said? She said, well, look where the batters are. They're right on top of the plate.
Yeah.
That's the new screen. So I mean, she saw that. She said, "Well, we noticed top of the plate. No wonder they're getting hit."
Well, let's take a second here. Now we went and saw my nephew, your grandson, play Little League baseball. How old is he right now?
22.
Right. How old are these guys we watching playing baseball right now?
22, 25, 27.
So won't we talking about how close they used to stand to the plate? You could put a bat between the plate and their feet because how they draw their hands in now to get inside the baseball.
And they want to cover the outside of the plate.
Right.
Your stepmom said that too. She said they're trying to cover the outside of the plate. Then she said, you don't know, they might be getting hit by strikes.
Well, that's so my McNeil, who I think they should have traded 2 years ago for the Mets, he keeps swinging at pitches a foot inside. He got hit in the groin, foul tipping a ball into himself. and he swung at one pitch and missed and hit him in the back leg. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're so close to the plate. You ought to be able to, if it comes at you, don't swing. But that's and they've been benching him. And Iglesias has been playing second, and Ventos is playing third. And that's when the Mets started going. With Francisco that pitching staff loves Francisco Alvarez. The coaches love Francisco Alvarez. The team, the city has embraced him.
He hit a home run yesterday.
Yeah, Diaz is a different pitcher when he's behind the plate. It's huge. And I mean, I saw a thing now where a trade, proposal for Severino. I don't think the Mets are going to trade now. I don't think they're even going to trade.
They're a game and a half out of the wild card.
Right.
The National League is wide open. It's not like the American League. You've got a top tier of teams.
And they could just hang on and get Singa back. And maybe they trade somebody to get another pitcher. Yeah. It might make some noise in the second half. But and it's been fun watching these trade things coming around because everybody's bunched in the middle. So who's going to get this year is going to be even funner than last year. Who's going to be buyers and who's going to be sellers?
Yeah.
Because everybody's within a shot. Not everybody, but there's like 4 or 5 teams that are legitimately going, okay, we're out. But everybody else is like within a shot of the playoffs. Right.
Well, the Orioles lost another starter. Bradish is going to have Tommy John surgery.
Well, we talked about that last week.
Yeah, he was hurt, but he wasn't sure. But now it's going to be Tommy John.
Well,
they also lost their left-handed reliever, Colombe, and he won't be back until September.
They got to make a move for a pitcher.
Oh, they've got to do a lot of moves because their pitching staff's down to, they're pitching, lawn chairs and fire hydrants.
Well, I know they moved a relief pitcher to the starting rotation. Sua, whatever his name is. Only reason I know that's because I have him on my.
And the other thing, there's been talk, especially on the internet. I don't do social media, but I see it on the internet where there's talk about how people they're talking about how even though ratings and everything are up, and there's a lot more excitement in the game now because people are bunting, hitting, and running, stealing bases, doing everything. And there's young kids like Dela Cruz and Cincinnati and that. Who knows how good they're going to be? Well,
the players are actually know how to sell themselves because they have to because MLB can't. So they're going to social media and selling themselves. Votto started doing that 2 years ago.
Well, see, the talk was that with the extra playoff teams and that the regular season's being diminished. And I
think it's funny.
But personally, I don't know I'm wondering if it'd be better to do away with the divisions. I
said that since when they went through you play everybody.
I think you mentioned this one time. Go to the two
old school,
the 2 division of 8 teams in each league, and then have those teams, the top 4 teams in each division, play off, and then you had the World Series. I mean, I'm just saying because add another team, and then so you don't have the week off. That hurt the teams. Some of the teams.
Well, to the playoffs, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they need to add 2. Either subtract a team, I think.
Either subtract a team and go back the way it was, or go to 8 from 6.
I don't like having the week off.
That obviously hurt somebody. That hurt team. But see,
in
that was
baseball,
another thing.
you gotta.
Baseball is there's timing in basketball. There's timing in golf. There's timing in every sport. Timing.
In hockey,
in baseball,
really bad. Right.
Baseball timing is everything. And when
Right.
you sit around for a week and you're just hitting batting practice, and the pitchers are just tossing, and then they got to go out on the mound and start throwing strikes again. Sometimes it's difficult. So you mentioned it, and
I said back to just an American League, National League.
Oh, okay. I'd say
taking the top 8 teams because they all play each other now. So why do you have a 5-team? It makes no sense. It makes
you could
absolutely no sense.
So anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up too.
I would like, because that's the way it was, used to be, just two American, 2 leagues. That was it. Yeah. But I like yours too. Because it doesn't make – I don't like these 4 or 5 team – I don't like them in football. I don't like them in baseball.
Well, they're here to stay because of the money. I mean, we can't – even if we don't – I don't like all – I think there's too many playoffs in football and hockey and basketball is ridiculous.
Well, but, I like to play – I thought it out because I'm a purist. I hated it when they went to it, and now they just like the rules. I like it. Last year was – it made the season fun. Even though my team had no chance, it was fun watching the other teams trying to fight to get in it to the last night. It makes the playoffs fun. You get these crazy matchups. We would not have had the World Series we had without that playoff system.
Exactly, and the upsets.
Right. So
that's what makes it better.
Right, and it gives everybody an opportunity to say, well, if my team could just make the playoffs, if they could just make the playoffs. So now it did the opposite. It's made all the games mean more because you just want to make the playoffs.
All right. Now, next subject. I'd like to talk about your favorite player.
Uh-oh.
Trevor Bauer.
He's not my favorite player. I just feel like he's been done.
Well, dirty. I mean, you've mentioned him quite a few times. I thought, No,
I just think he's done dirty. I also said where smoke there's fire. I know he's got some screws loose and he's got to bring some baggage.
Well, the other night, if I were the Orioles, I'd be on the next plane to Mexico. He struck out 19 and 8 2/3 innings, pitched a 1-hitter. Now listen.
I'm about to be scared to tell you what I've been doing. I've been watching all of his highlights. So yeah, go ahead.
Guy, everybody watching this, those two are
major leaguers.
Cards. Don't believe him. He's not. They are exchanging birthday cards. Now listen. He offered to come back to the Dodgers this year when they cleared him of that problem that he had. He offered to come back to the Dodgers this year for the minimum. He offered to come back to the Dodgers for the minimum. The Dodgers said no because MLB said no. And the Players Association they're all scared of the publicity. That's what they're scared of. So right now, the poor guy is in limbo. Okay. Here's what you do, Trevor. Get you one of them big-time lawyer boys. Get that big-time lawyer. Sue the MLB and the Players Association for $1 billion. You're not going to get $1 billion, but you could get several million. Because the charges against you were dropped. But Major League Baseball kept the suspension on. Then they cut the suspension. But they still made you stay out the complete suspension. Now the suspension is long gone. And they won't allow you back.
I just feel like he went to Japan where there's strict rules to play over there. He played over there, was like the Cy Young winner or whatever in the league. He goes to Mexico facing major leaguers that are now playing in the Mexican league because they didn't, for whatever reason, they're not in the major leagues. And, and just blowing them away. And I'm just like, and his stuff has hop. It has hop. He's throwing 94, 95 fastballs, and his slider is nasty.
Let's just say it's the Orioles or the Braves, they need pitching. There's a lot of teams that need pitching.
Right.
The Yankees could stand more pitching. The Dodgers certainly could.
I would love for him to be in that. For league minimum?
Sign him for the minimum, have in his contract all kinds of clauses, behavioral clauses. And then if he doesn't pan out, you're not losing anything.
Right.
You send him down to Norfolk and forget about it.
Right.
I mean, that's it.
Yeah, option him and that's it. Yeah.
Okay, so now what are your other options? I'm just going to talk to the Orioles right now. What are your other options? Trade some of your good players in the minor leagues that you want to try to hang on to, but you're going to have to trade some of them to get starting pitching from another team or bullpen help. You're just going to have to. Or sign this guy and not have to give up anybody. So you could bring Trevor Bauer in, maybe trade for a reliever and another starter with about 4 or 5 of your outstanding players you have in the minor leagues. What? How are you hurt? I don't know. And if MLB is doing this, if he sues you, I hope he nails you to the wall. Because this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You're not giving the man another shot. He was proven that he didn't do what they claimed he did. It was proven, and you're not giving him another shot. It's sad. But it's all about the publicity. Oh, we're not gonna look good, and everybody's gonna come out and criticize us on social media.
Yeah, because if he actually did it, I'm all for booting him out. I'm all for it. I would be right in line. But
exactly.
And I knew he would come back for league minimum because he's all about betting on himself. If you follow him on YouTube and social media, this dude, he loves himself and he knows he's good. And I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
Well,
he's going to win the Mexican Cy Young Award or whatever. And, I don't know why he's not back. I think he's playing in Mexico. So if he did get the phone call, he can just come right up.
Yeah.
But, I mean, come on. He's in Mexico and not doing anything wrong and not getting in trouble. Out of all the places in the world you could play ball at and not getting trouble finds you there. He's staying clean. I don't know what else he's got to do.
Well, I'm going to go over the standings like I usually do every week. In the American League, nothing's changed. The Yankees are a game and a half over the Orioles. The Cleveland Indians are 7.5 up on Minnesota. Kansas City has slipped back a little bit. Seattle is up 7 on Houston. Houston's come up to second place. The National League, Philadelphia is up 7 on the Braves. Milwaukee 5 on St. Louis. LA is up 8 on the Padres. They keep changing teams in the West. This week, there are only 16 teams with losing records. So now we're up to 14 with winning records.
Right.
The 2 teams that have come back are St. Louis and the Padres. Now, there are 3 teams nobody wants to play right now. And I'm not talking about this is besides the division leaders. There are 3 teams that are really hot right now. One is St. Louis. The Cardinals are going crazy. They're doing real well. The second team is the Padres. The Padres have done pretty well lately. The third team is Arizona. Arizona is a half a game behind the Padres now, and they've done real well lately. So these teams, and they've won in the American League that nobody wants to play, and the Orioles have found this out, is Houston. Houston is starting to smoke. I mean, they are starting to roll. So they beat the Orioles 14-11 Friday night and beat them like 5-1 yesterday. So they got
a new trash can.
Those teams, whether they're hitting trash cans or whatever, but all those teams are really making moves. And I'm kind of tickled to death with Arizona because those were my little, if you have a bunch of kids hanging around a bunch of kids, you're going to have a favorite or two. And I
Right.
just like Arizona. I just like what they did last year, getting all the way to the World Series. I love that young team, the way they hustle, they play so hard. The outfield is like lightning in a bottle. They're so fast, and I just like to see. I just like watching them play.
You got some depth too. You got McCarthy,
Yeah, they
Pavin
got a good young
Smith,
team.
Great catcher, one of the best in the league. So,
Well, the wild card in the American League is top heavy. It's the O's, the Twins, and KC, and everybody else is way back. But in the National League, it's a dogfight because you don't ever have a winning record. But it's Atlanta and the St. Louis Cardinals and the Padres right now. Arizona and the Mets are like a game and a half back. So it's wide open, guys. And Scott's right. I mean, this is going to be wild when we get to. Well, the one thing, the trade deadline's what, July?
yeah, like a week after the World Series, I think. I mean, what's it? All-Star game?
Something like that.
Or a week before the All-Star game? It's somewhere.
I thought it was before. I might be wrong.
I know last year they moved it up.
Yeah, it's
But
in July, I'm sure. So,
but you still have the waiver system.
That's going to be kind of interesting.
Right.
And I included the wild card this week because it's getting a little later in the season.
Yeah, definitely. That I was going to plan on doing that, but I ran out of time today a little bit. I definitely wanted to have some stuff for Willie today and have a little bit of a tribute to him.
Well, for me, I've told this story several times, but in 1954, we bought a television in the spring of '54 when I was in the second grade. So that fall, I went into the third grade. I even remember my teacher. Her name was Miss Loudon, and she went out at Christmas because she was pregnant, having a baby, and then we had Miss Werner. But anyway, I digress. I asked my mom to be able to stay home and watch the first game of the World Series because they came on in the afternoon. It's the first time we had a TV, so I knew when I walked home from school, I could see the end of the game, maybe the last few innings, a couple of innings, 3 innings, maybe 2, because games went much faster then. So I asked her, I said, can I stay home, Mama, and watch the first? And she said, don't ask me again, but I'll let you stay home today. So I was at home watching that game on the old black and white, the big old black and white television in front of the living room when Wirtz hit that ball that Mays caught in center field. I saw the play. And
I've seen that TV because it was the TV stand for the other TV.
Mom kept it. She never got rid of that old TV.
Another TV on top of it.
And well, your mom, your grandmother, your grandparents were all in the Depression, so they didn't get rid of it.
Yeah, I know.
And,
Don't believe me. I know.
Yeah, oh yeah. And so anyway, I saw that play, and it was a time when I look forward to the All-Star game because, like Scott said, they only had one game a week on Saturday that you could watch. So there was too many teams. I mean, it was either the Yankees, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, the White Sox, Cleveland, the good teams in each league. They didn't show the other teams. So I never saw the Cubs. So I didn't get to see Ernie Banks except in the All-Star game. After 1955, the Giants went downhill until they moved out to the West Coast. So Willie Mays was the only draw. So I got to see him in the All-Star game after that. But for me to sit there and watch the All-Star game and watch Mays and Hank Aaron and Eddie Matthews, Del Crandall, and Hank Aaron, these guys, I mean, and Duke Snyder and all these guys coming out on the Carl Furillo, and in the American League, you had all the Yankee players, and then you had Nellie Fox and people like that from the White Sox, and the Indians had Al Rosen and a bunch. I mean, I got to see some of the greatest players of all time just in those All-Star games. And then I listened to the games. They still had several games on radio during the day. So I listened to a lot of games on the radio during the day. And a lot of them, after a while, when they went to more night games, it was mostly Cub games because they hadn't got lights yet. So they played all their games during the day. But, I mean, I know I'm talking a little long, but
no.
It was one of those, it was a time when I just loved the game of baseball. I loved all sports, but I loved the game of baseball. And I just sat there and would look at the TV, that old black and white TV, and all the players would come out there wearing either their home or away jerseys and hats instead of the clown uniforms they wear now, the softball stuff. And it was a special time, and there were some special players, guys, and there's special players now. But it's a different world we live in now, and it's more about, can I sell myself and be this, that, and the other. When back then, it was all about the team. And I want to say one more thing about Mays. It was reported later on in the media that there was animosity between Mays and Hank Aaron. And I saw Bob Costas do an interview with Hank Aaron several years ago, and they re-showed it the other day on MLB. And Bob Costas brought that up. And he said Mays said that was all perpetuated by the media. He said he said, first of all, Hank Aaron was probably the nicest human being I ever met. He never said a bad word about anybody, and I never heard anybody say a bad word about Hank Aaron. He said, I'll tell you how bad we got along. I was in a slump. We went to Atlanta to play the Braves, both of us near the end of our careers. We went to Atlanta to play the Braves. I told Hank, I saw him before the game. I said, Hank, I'm in a slump. What can I do? Can I borrow one of your bats? And he said he went and got one of his bats and gave it to me. And so he said, I used his bat, got a hit during the game, and I used it until I broke it about 2 months later, and I kept using it. He said, that's why. So if you don't think we got along, that story ought to prove it. He said that was something that was cooked up by the media.
Right. Well, I mean, we see it today. Rivalries breed, viewership, and readership and all that stuff.
Well, no, don't get me wrong. When the game started, they wanted to beat each other's brains.
Well, yeah, that was the difference in time. Today it's a business. Then it was a game. Yeah,
everybody brings their briefcase and iPad to the locker room.
Right. Business,
checking the stocks.
Yeah, talking to their, agents and everything. Well, Dad, let's leave it at that this week. I think we covered a lot, and man, this was enjoyable listening to you, and just remembering a great player in person, and Willie Mays, and what he's done for the sport that we love. And he did it in a time that probably, I don't want to reiterate, probably wasn't the kindest of times to African Americans, and that just makes it that much greater. I bring it up before with Jackie Robinson and them. Baseball kind of mirrors real life, and it was,
Well, we not only had those three at my time. We not only had Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, and Duke Snyder, and we also had two of the greatest catchers of all time when they had Yogi Berra and what was his name for the Dodgers?
Roy Campanella
and Yogi Berra. I mean, you just couldn't. Bruce Scour and I mean, these.
Yeah. Well, it was the golden age, and I mean, it would at that time was 12 teams, 16 teams.
There were 16 teams, 8 in each team. Elite.
Right. So different. It's a little watered down now. So we're going to leave you with that. Thank you for watching. Thank you for taking the time to watch me and Pop, and I appreciate all the kind words. I just want to let Pop know that Monday night on my when I talk about my cards, it was let known to me, even though I already knew it, that you are the reason why people watch. So watch this one. So I just wanted to let you know, to pass that on to you, that people really enjoy watching this. So until next time, like, share, tell a friend, and we will see ya.